Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to join our Procore training session. I'm Jessica, I'm one of the co-founders at Part3. Today I'm going to literally focus just on Procore. So I'll do a quick overview of when you're in Part3, what it looks like, how to navigate, how to create projects and things like that. And I'm going to make sure to focus on what this looks like from a prime consultant perspective. So if you're a Part3 customer, but also if you're a collaborator in Part3 and you're invited by your consultant. Things look a little bit different, but ultimately you're both contributing in the same way on a submittal or RFI. So I'm going to jump in and start sharing my screen. If you have any questions, I'm going to make sure I save time at the end so that we can make sure that I have time to come back to those and make sure that you guys feel comfortable leaving today knowing how to set up your project and also knowing how to familiarize yourself in Procore and get responding to those submittals and RFIs. So I'll share my screen and we will get going. Okay, so when you come into Part3, this is your landing page. Please ignore all of this nonsense data that I have here in our testing environment, but this is your landing page when you come in. You can navigate through all of your projects, all of your tasks, and really focus on what you need to work on today, what's overdue, what's coming due. Anything that you have on the side here is internal comments between the consultant team. So if someone mentions you in a comment, you can click right into that document and continue your discussion there. I'll show you what that looks like once you're actually in a document to give some more context to that. You have a link to your organization, which is if you are a Part3 customer. So I'm going to dive in now quickly to the org. I'll just do a quick overview of that. So at your top left navigation here, you have a link to all of your projects and then your organization. So I'm going to go into this org that I'm on. Very quickly, projects live under this tab. If they're active, they're here. If they're archived, they're under this tab. People, members are anyone that's part of your organization. So everyone who's a Part3 employee is here, and a directory is anyone else. So that is my contractors, my external consultants, my owners. This is where they all live. And so as you add people on your project or you add them here, they sync together to create that kind of master directory for you. So if you work with repeat consultants or owners or GCs, you don't have to enter them every time. Project settings. This is where you want to make sure that you get all of these little bits and pieces set up beforehand. So this is information that would go on your cover page. For disclaimers, this would be for submittals especially, which is what we're going to talk about today. Make sure that you get your submittal disclaimer set up in Part3. So you can just click add new. If you are using Word right now, or you have somewhere where your disclaimers are saved internally, just make a submittal title and then enter the disclaimer in that body. And you can always come back and edit that. Cover pages, I won't dive too much into that today because we are just focusing on submittals and RFIs. But here, where I have that submittal disclaimer, I want to make sure that I apply that and hit save. And what that does is make sure that every time I create a project from now on, it already has this set up. So I want to get that in place for everything here, but especially today, submittals, we want to get that in place so that we don't need to redo that every single time. And then advanced settings, this is just for categories for how you're grouping your projects. So that's internal. You don't really need to focus on that too much. It doesn't actually impact your project. So I'm going to dive into a project that I can create a project here. It walks me through a few steps, and all of this can be edited later. So if I did a test project right now, I have my start date and my end date. And again, none of this is really set in stone because I can come back and edit this information at any time. These are the categories I was talking about where it is really just for your own internal sorting. If I wanted to group all my healthcare projects together, I could do that. And then next step is just figuring out what workflows you want to have. And since we're talking about Procore today, I'm going to toggle on that this is a Procore connected project. So when I come in here now and I go to my settings, I'm going to get this flag that I need to get this integration set up. So I can make that request to my general contractor, or I can cancel it, no big deal, and I can come back and do that later. So there's a few different things here to get set up. I will link that at the end of this video. We have a full help center, so I don't want to take too much time focusing on the project setup today and all the nitty gritty. I just want to make sure that we get into the Procore connection stuff. So going back to a project, I've created this now. I have my whole team populated. I've figured out my settings, and now I'm ready to make my connection to Procore. So I do want to reach out to the GC. The first thing I need to do is add the general contractor to my project with this role. So if I'm adding a member, I want to make sure they have a general contractor role. Don't need to give them anything else here. And then I want to make sure I send the project invite. In our resources, we have some help docs for connecting Part 3 in Procore. This is a really good resource to send them with a short video, walking them through what you do and then what they need to do. So that is really handy to send them. So once they're in there, all they're going to do, and all you need to do, is go to your account settings, scroll down, and authorize your integration. So all this is saying is the Jessica in Part 3 is the same Jessica email in Procore, therefore I can work in Part 3. So anyone who's a prime consultant or a regular consultant and the GC needs to make sure that they do that connection. Then when your GC comes into Part 3, they literally only need to be here for 2 minutes max. They come in and click connect. They need to be a prime, they need to have admin permissions in Procore. They pick their company, they pick their project, hit create connection, make sure it turns green, and they're done. They never need to come back into Part 3 anymore. It's a very simple setup for them. So now that this has been connected, it's pulling in all of my submittals and all of my RFIs. If you are already bringing in a project that's underway, then no worries, it will pull in everything from the very beginning. So if you are bringing in a project that's been ongoing for a while, you can just make sure that you catch up where you left off and everything will sync for you. So I can see here, if I have these highlighted in blue, I have a task. So I'm going to walk you through a few different scenarios. This is the first scenario we have where I have something called step-based submittals turned on. I can show you both different flows, but right now I'm going to show you this step-based flow. And the reason for this is that it gives you more control. So I can see here, we are syncing everything that the GC has established in Procore. So the GC in Procore said, step 1 is myself and Alex. Either of us can respond to this, and I know that it's my turn to respond because my name is in the ball in court. Normally, a workflow that we do suggest, but not every general contractor goes for it, is that if you're a true prime consultant, meaning that the other consultants work for you, only assign submittals and RFIs to you. And then you as the prime can dictate who it goes to. It gives you a little bit more control and it helps you navigate things because at the end of the day, you're responsible for those consultants anyways. So let's make sure that you have that control. So I have this submittal and I want to add some steps. I'm going to bring in my structural consultant. In this example, it's masonry block. I'm going to bring in structural. Either Jack or Tester 8 can respond. I don't really care who from my structural team responds, to be honest, but I need somebody to look at this. And then I'm going to add myself, actually, because I just want to be the last person that gets my eyes on this. We will also give you this notification here. In my project settings, I've said that my contract outlines that I have 7 days to review this. But you can see here I have 5 and 5, so I'm exceeding that. So I'm going to give my structural engineer 3 days, and I'm going to give myself 4 days, and now I'm on track. So I'll hit save. Everyone that comes in here now, So Tester 8 and Jack have both received a task in Part 3. They've received an email. When they come into Part 3, now is where they can comment and start contributing. So if Jack came in here, he'll see this is the original file that came in from the general contractor. I have my product cut sheet in this example. So when Jack comes in, you're going to click Add Files. I'm going to pick the one that the GC gave me, but I could also upload different files if I wanted to. Now Jack can start the review. It's changed to my name, by the way. That's just something to know, is that if you respond on behalf of someone, we are noting who actually made that comment. So you can come in here, click annotate, you can compare your specs. So if I've uploaded a spec here at my project, I can look at my specs side by side, and I can use all the annotation tools here. I can also apply my review stamp, which was set up at my profile. I can move that around, find some space on the drawing, annotate it, everything like that. I can also add comments. I'll say, see annotations on attachment. I'll save that, and I'm going to pick my review status here. These are some custom statuses that we have, but it would normally say reviewed, reviewed as noted, etc. And then I'll click return. So in this case, I was the structural consultant, so I responded on behalf of Jack. But you can see it just said return to Jessica. My name's in the bottom court. So they send it to me. Anytime your consultant completes the review, returns it to you, you're good to go. They can't return it to Procore because the GC didn't invite them to the submittal, which is absolutely fine because you've added them here. But they're just going to return it to you so that you can keep track of who has completed their task and who hasn't. And now it's moved to me because, like I said, I didn't care if Jack or Tester 8 responded. I just needed someone to respond. So now I can go in and add the same file. And what that does is make sure that I annotate on top of the same drawing. So you can see this is the submittal stamp that Jack dropped there. And now I just want to add my annotations on top here too. I just want to make sure I'm sending back one PDF to the GC. It's easy for them. And then I can click this is reviewed, all good. And then I can make sure that I send that back. So this is the step-based submittal flow that we have in Part 3. Again, it's just giving you some more control. You can modify things. So I could go back and edit my steps. I could delete architectural. It will make sure that structural stays there because they actually already responded. So I'm not going to delete that. I can always come back and then make sure, oh, it was returned. So now it was returned to Procore. This has been sent back to the general contractor. If I scroll down here, let me get that out of the way. If I scroll down, I can see everyone's responses. The overall status was reviewed as noted because structural said it was make corrections noted, and then I said no exceptions taken, which again might look a bit different on your end with the standard reviewed as noted reviewed comments. Then I get a status of when it was returned. So this has now gone back to the general contractor. I can download it. It's got my cover page on it, and it will only be closed when the GC closes it in Procore. They have control over that because it's their submittal, but as soon as it's returned, your task is complete. You don't need to do anything else. When I was talking earlier on the landing page, when you come into Part 3, it will show you your mentions. This is where you can communicate with your team. So if I wanted to say to Russell, what size block is required, it doesn't say in the spec, I'm communicating with my consultants. Only my consultants and myself can see this. Russell gets an email, I send him this message, and we want to really encourage you guys to use this area. None of this will sync back to Procore, but what it does is it keeps all of the context at the document level. Now you don't need to worry about digging through your emails. What was that discussion we had about masonry, or what was the discussion we had about that specific submittal? we're coordinating here together, making sure that we agree on the review. We have everything lined up, all of our ducks in a row before we send it back to the GC. So this is a really good area to leverage. And you also have the history of your documents. I can see when something came in, when it was created, when I moved it and assigned it to people. So that's just a good track record for you of what happened on that submittal. So this is the flow for step-based submittals. When you come into your project, this won't be turned on for you. So as a prime consultant, you can come in here and toggle on use step-based submittals. And that will give you that flow that I just showed you where you can add steps, add people, figure things out. If I turned it off and I went back into this submittal here, which is still open for me, you'll see it looks pretty different. So I could still add collaborators here. Either Russell or I can respond. If I wanted to add collaborators in this instance, then I'm picking them from this list. It's not a great flow, and it's why we introduced the step-based, is because everyone here would be adding their response under the same area. They're still marking up the same PDF, which is great, but everyone's response is kind of grouped into one thing, and it's one overall review status. So giving you that step flow is more of a breakdown for you. It differentiates everyone's review, and then you can make sure that you are following along easier in terms of who has reviewed it, who has set their status, and where the current ball in court is for you. In this example, by the way, so you can see here, I have 2 steps. Corey can't come in and respond until either Russell or I do. There's a few different things to know. Again, because every GC is different, I just want to highlight this, is that if it says required here, you are literally required. So if Russell and I are both from Part 3, but the GC made us required, we both have to have a response before we can move on to the next step or before we can return it. So that's a bit of a blocker, because maybe since we're on the same team, either one of us can respond. So I would want to make sure with the GC to don't make us both required. There's just a few things to have a conversation with. And if your project's just beginning, it's a good idea to establish those house rules so that you make sure everyone's aligned on the workflow that you want to have. We have a lot of resources down here. So if I look in our help docs, I can look step-based submittals. I can see this is the resource that I have, which we have a quick video, and it's everything I just walked you through. But I am aware that I'm talking at you and you don't really know what you're getting into until you first get your submittals and your project connected. So just as a reminder, we have tons of help docs for you here, and we are always available via email, and we have our AI answers too. So once you're done this webinar today, you're not alone. We still have a lot of resources, and we're always here. So those are the 2 flows that we have for Procore submittals. When your consultants come in, they don't need to know the ins and outs as well as you do as a Part 3 customer. They just need to focus on their overview page. What are my tasks? Click into that task. Let's see what we got here. Complete my response. Click return to somebody if it's returned to Procore, or if it's returned to Jessica, if this was a collaborator. That's all they need to do. Look at your overview page, jump into your ball and court tasks, and then you don't need to do anything else. You can communicate down here with your team. And those are really the benefits of Part 3. It keeps everybody in one spot. So you have a total track record of your communication and your collaboration with your consultants within Part 3. I'm going to jump over to RFIs now. RFIs are very straightforward because it doesn't have that concept of steps like submittals do. So when a GC is creating an RFI, they're simply assigning a list of people that they want to respond to it. In this example, I told the GC only assign them to me. I'm the prime consultant. I will figure out which consultants need to contribute to an RFI. So this is lighting. I'm going to click add, and I'm going to bring in my electrical consultant. I need them to contribute. It doesn't matter if Peter or Danny respond. I just want someone to respond. All they need to do is come and click new response. They can select the attachment from up here. If they've already viewed the attachment, they could say refer to spec and updated drawing, and then click select and then click add response. So up here, just a reminder, this is the imported file from the GC, and you'll know that if it has this Procore icon. You can't mark this one up, which is why you always bring it into your workflow so that you actually do get those annotation tools that we have. You can enter full screen, you can download a document, you can save it, lots of different options here. Of course, if you have a big submittal package, if you're working on a condo and you have a huge curtain wall package and you're used to working in another PDF platform, you can definitely do that. You can come in, edit, you can upload any attachments that you want. You're not just limited to using our annotation tools, of course. As you can see, this is still with under review. So even though I added my response, I can come in and edit it, or I can delete it. Peter and Danny can come in and add their responses as well. But because my name is in the ball in court and someone who is with the prime consultant role at the project team, they can click return to Procore. I'm going to pick which response I want to send back. And the reason for that is because I'm prime consultant, I want to make sure that I have full control of what's being communicated to the GC. So for example, if I have both Peter and Danny responding, but I just want to send back one response from electrical, I'm just going to pick the response that I want to send back. I don't want to send back mixed messages between people, or if I have some draft responses, or I want to collaborate, or sorry, if I want to combine everything into my response, I could do that and then just say I want to send back mine only. And this is the one that is going to sync back to Procore. So this, test project. So this will go back to returned, and similar to submittals, it won't be closed until the GC closes it in Procore. So very simple, adding people, sending it back. You have the comments area, you have the history. You always have files referenced. If you accidentally delete something here, no worries. You can just come back and grab it from here. So RFIs are super straightforward. There's no concept of steps. All you really need to do is keep an eye out for your name in the ball in court, or you just need to keep an eye out for these blue lines, which signifies that you have a task. And you can always just filter on here too. My tasks, this is all I need to focus on. So for example, if you invited an electrical consultant into part 3, they don't need to worry about everything. Just focus on my task. You as a prime consultant can search for people. I want to know, what does Danny have that's open? Okay, he has these ones that are open. Everything else has been returned, just so you can have a better idea of what is going on with your team, who owes you a response, and where things are at overall. So that is Procore, submittals, and RFIs. Just a reminder, as a starting point, get your GC in your project team. You can send them our help doc on connecting Procore and Part 3. As a side note, if you click the titles, it actually brings you to our full help center where we have a lot of different information on Procore, but this is an article that you want to send them just to get started and get that connection in place. And then everyone who's contributing needs to make sure that they authorize their individual account. And all it says is that you are the same email in Procore as you are in Part 3, and you're good to go. So I'm going to check out the questions right now. I'll give you guys a couple minutes if you do want to take a second to come back and ask any questions. But as a reminder, we're always here through that help button in the bottom right corner. AI is obviously AI, but an email will always be a real human that responds to you. So you don't need to worry that you don't have support. You always have support here with Part 3. We want to make sure that you're up and running, that you feel comfortable working in it, and also that your consultants feel comfortable coming in and contributing as well. So I don't see anything in the chat or the questions. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to attend today. I really appreciate it. Again, I hope you find everything in part 3 relatively intuitive. Obviously, you know, once you're in there, then you know what's going on, you get familiar with it. So if you haven't really absorbed everything today because your project's not Procore connected yet, no worries, reach out to us whenever you have time. Okay, thank you everyone for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And don't forget, we're always accessible in this bottom right corner. Have a great day.